In the same file as previously, we are now going to create another macro. And this macro is going to be called loop test. This is a macro where we're going to actually define variables again, and then we're going to loop through all rows. Then we want to check the value of a cell, and then if the value is a specific one, then we want to change the format, for example. And this is all we want to do so far. So to be quite fast, the define variables is going to be easy because I'm going to use at least the same when it comes to workbook and worksheet. The cell value I'm going to keep because at some point I will need to read one specific cell to actually check the value of it, right? Most importantly, now I'm going to create two variables to create the loop. And this is what you need to actually memorize. We're going to create one that is going to be last row. And the type variable is going to be long. Then we want one that is called row num and as long also. So it's going to be numbers and it's going to be numbers of rows. Then in order to loop through all rows, I actually need to know how many rows there is. How many rows there are? So there is a small line of code that we're going to use. Last row is equal, and then we're going to select the worksheet where we want to look at. Then we want to look at some cells, and we want to count the number of rows. And we need to identify the column where we're going to actually look for it. And here I select the column 1, the column A. The only limit for this is the fact that I need to make sure that in this column there's only the table and also it is always filled. Because if this one, for example, is empty, then the last row that I'm going to find is 4 and not 5. So I need to make sure that this column is already filled. Then I want to know how am I going to find out the number of rows. And in that instance, I'm going to find it by doing from the bottom to the top, XL up. Meaning that what the macro is going to do is going to start from the bottom here, and it's going to go up one row at a time and find this one. This is the value I'm going to find. This is the row number 5 I'm going to find. Then I'm going to start the loop. To start the loop, I'm going to say for and then row num equals, and this is the start of the loop. The start of my loop is going to be the row number 2 after the headings. And then it's going to go, so for row num equal to the last row, which is my variable here that I just found out. Word of advice, at the end, put next. It's not even a word just of advice, it's just make sure that you do it right away because the for statement is always followed by the next statement. This is the entire loop here. So whatever is inside the for and the next here is going to happen for each row. Here, you can also add the step if you wanted though to go 2 rows at a time. So you would actually skip 1 row each time here. By default, if you don't say anything, it's going to be step equal 1. So it's going to go 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on until the last row, in our case, 5. This is just the beginning. Here, we're going to actually do other things and most importantly add a condition, but it's going to be in the next video. The most important for you here is this for next statement that allows you to start a loop from a row num, this is a variable that you assign the value to the last row that we actually find with this line and this kind of statement. This is going to be always the same line that we're going to use to find out the last row of a table. We're going to use something similar also at some point to find the last column of a table. It is the same system. I hope it is clear enough. Let's go to the next step and find out how we use the if statement to check for a condition.